Welcome back to the Google Workspace Update podcast from Strawberry 7. My name is Adam.
And my name is Adam.
We're here every week to bring you the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. This podcast is available in audio format from wherever you cast your pods and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7.
Coming up on the show today,
we've got 5 updates for you today, so relatively quick show. We've got updates to Google Drive, Google Meet, and drumroll, Google Meet. So pretty Google Meet heavy session on this podcast. As always, there is a link in the podcast or video description to the document that we read from. This contains more detailed information, relevant links, some lovely pictures, and even some moving graphics showing you these features in action. So let's get to it.
on with the show. Right, so surprise everybody, I'm back. So thank you, Adam, for looking after the podcast last week in my absence. But I am back, everybody, and it looks like I've brought the Google Meet with me. But before that, we've got a Google Drive update for everybody. So adding a 2-page view for PDFs in the Google Drive app on large screen Android devices. So you can now flip between a single page width view or a newly added 2-page view width view when scrolling through a PDF using the Google Drive app on your Android tablet or foldable device. This side-by-side view of the PDF will resemble a book, providing a better viewing experience on large-screen Android devices.
So I always love it when technology goes back to being like books. I always find it quite funny. Or like stuff tries to be like paper. Yeah, this is a really nice update. I mean, whilst you're away, Adam, and welcome back, obviously. I'm very, very pleased that you didn't have any trouble on Snowdon. Was it a nice climb?
Oh, it was fantastic, yes. It was really, really nice. But when I got to the very top, there was absolutely no view whatsoever. So I told everyone...
That's what I was going to ask.
I'll show you some lovely, lovely pictures. But because there was no view, I told everyone, I'm just going to take a photo and tell everybody I was at Mount Fiji. Because no one will be able to tell the difference.
No one will know the difference. That's a good idea. Was it just completely whited out?
At the very top, it was. Amazing views at the bottom. Very Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. We had exactly the same when we climbed Ben Wythis. It was like nothing at the top, but going up and down. It was very windy, but very dramatic and very beautiful. Oh, well, I'm very, very glad that you're back, Adam, and there were no problems up or down Snowdon. So, like I said in the podcast last week, because I think we were talking about a Android foldable sort of device update then as well. You know, as we said all the way through, we've seen a lot of these Android foldable or large screen device updates, and they're always nice. They're always a good use, I think, of the feature. This is really nice, having the PDF side by side like this and being able to view it as a book, as it says. What would be nice to see in this, and I don't know whether maybe it's in this update or not, but it would be quite nice if you could kind of annotate it in this view as well. If you were doing sort of any annotations or work on it, that would be quite nice.
Yes, I would actually love to see this, stepping away from Google, I would love to see this come to iOS. So I view PDFs on my iPad, I view PDFs on that quite a lot, but you can't view them side by side, and you cannot navigate it like a book. You just scroll up and down. But what I actually use it for is actually reading sheet music. So I do actually want to use it as a book and go side to side. I don't want to be scrolling whilst I'm reading my sheet music. So I would love to see something very similar come to iOS.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see an update to iOS then, and it would be good on those large iPad screens like you've got. When you maybe turn it landscape, it would go into that sort of book view.
Because the only workaround that I've had would be literally turn my PDFs into books. If I import them into iBook, is it iBook? iBooks, for example, and then it does, they do interact as if it is a book, but that's faff and long-winded. I just want to open PDF and be able to swipe side to side, or have the option.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll see that come across to iOS then. I think this is available to everybody, is that right?
Yes, that's right. So this is available right now to all Google Workspace customers and users with a personal Google account. So available everywhere right now.
Great, thank you very much, Adam. What's the first of our 4 Google Meet updates?
Okay, so the first of many meaty updates we've got. Google Meet Series 1 Desk 27 and Acer Chromebase for Meetings devices will automatically adjust your lighting. Pretty cool. So currently, Google Meet automatically adjusts your lighting for meetings on the web, helping to improve your video quality in underexposed environments. Google is now expanding this functionality to meetings taken on Google Meet Series 1 Desk 27 and Acer Chromebase for meetings devices. If these devices detect that your video appears underexposed, it will adjust the brightness to improve how you appear in the meeting. And Google plans to expand this functionality to larger meeting room devices in the future. So this is definitely talking about the Google Meet hardware devices.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for clarifying that, Adam. And they talk here about Google Meet Series 1 Desk 27 and Acer Chromebase devices.
We've spoken about the One Desk 27 probably not or too long ago, but I don't recall the Acer Chromebase. Have we discussed that before?
Not that I particularly remember. It might have been one of the devices that one of the updates was available for, but not kind of talking about it specifically. So, yeah, I mean, again, very, very nice that it's going to automatically adjust the lighting. I'm guessing that because it's talking about these devices specifically, I'm guessing that these devices have some kind of light sensor on it. Because, again, I'm guessing that it's not a software adjustment. Well, it will be a software adjustment of light, but not a universal one, if that makes sense. Kind of like the difference between having green screen virtual background and what we've got now, which is software virtual background, where it can just do it regardless of what your background is, because it kind of detects where you are. This is dependent on these devices that have these light sensors or something like that, and is going to adjust in that way.
Yes, yeah, it must be. I'm not too sure almost why it wasn't available already. As you say, there must be some technology or there must be some requirement that it's not able to do it at the moment. I kind of thought it was just software, because if it's just built into Google Chrome and it can basically do it if you're running Chrome on basically any device, then I would have thought that these hardware devices would have been able to do it as well. But clearly it can't for whatever the reason, one reason or another. Maybe it has a softer version of doing that. Maybe it does something slightly different instead. Obviously, we've not physically seen these hardware devices, so we can't say for sure one way or another. But it's great that this option is now coming. I've personally experienced it when lighting has automatically been adjusted, and it's a very handy feature to have.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that in Google Meet we're seeing a lot of these kind of quality of life improvement updates where it is doing these little things, making you look a bit better.
There has been a bit of focus on the user's appearance recently.
Yeah,
we just want to make everybody nice and pretty. Oh, and why not?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you are often in different environments where your lighting might be underexposed. You know, you can't always control what's going on in your environment around you. So it's good to have that sort of feature built in. The only thing I would say about
I was just going to say about that. Sorry to interrupt, but if you are using, because this is Google Meet hardware, it's unlikely that your location would ever change because you're going to be in like a library, you're going to be in a university, you're going to be in an office somewhere.
Yeah.
Unless your office frequently changes and moves around, maybe have it on wheels and you roll around like an old school overhead projector or something. I don't know, but I kind of imagine your environment when you're using these devices is probably the same every time.
Yeah, I was about to say exactly the same thing. It's like, if it's a Google Meet hardware device, so it's probably just going to be in a conference room, and that's always going to be the same or something like that. But
whereas if you're on your laptop, you could be on the go, you could be in Starbucks, you could be anywhere.
Well, maybe that's what these Acer Chrome-based devices are. Maybe they're a bit more mobile or something like that. But yeah, anyway, it's a good update. It's nice to see. How do people get started with this, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins, there is no admin control for this particular update, but for the end users, the feature will trigger automatically when Google Meet detects that the user's video is underexposed. Users can disable the feature in the settings menu for the active meeting, or alternatively, they can always visit Google's lovely help center if they would like to learn more about turning on automatic video lighting adjustments, and there's a lovely link within our document for that.
Great, thank you, Adam. What's the rollout pace and availability here, please?
Okay, so rapid release and scheduled release, there is a gradual rollout, so that means there's potentially up to 15 days for feature visibility, and that started on October the 30th. And this update is going to be available for all Google Workspace customers that are using the Series 1 Desk 27 devices or Acer Chromebase for meetings devices. So anyone that has that those models of Google Meet hardware will have access to this update.
Okay, cool. That's very, very nice. What's the next update, please, Adam?
Next up, more Google Meet. So enhancements to Google Meet viewer mode improve user participation and gives hosts greater flexibility. So earlier this year, Google introduced viewer mode for meeting attendees, which allowed a subset of attendees who could observe a meeting but not share their audio or video within that meeting. Google is introducing additional features for viewers and hosts. So first of all, viewers can now send emoji reactions during a meeting. Love a bit of an emoji, which is a lightweight, non-disruptive way to engage and participate in meetings without interrupting the speaker. Meeting hosts and co-hosts will be able to promote a viewer to a meeting contributor while the hosts are using picture-in-picture mode. This gives hosts greater flexibility and saves time when needing to change particular rights without having to leave pip mode.
Okay, well, these are very useful, nice updates to Google Meet. And I think that the emoji reactions, first of all, to talk about that one, first of all, are really nice because that's a good engagement that you can have there during a meeting. That's pretty cool. And I think that's kind of in line, like we said about some of these emoji updates before, it's in line with what people see on other platforms, like the social media platforms when people are doing live streams and things like that. So I think that's cool. I think Google could kind of just change this slightly if the moving graphic here is accurate. So for any listeners who want to see what this looks like, there is a nice moving graphic here that Adam's added to how this looks. I think it would be quite nice if they made it a little bit more like it is on social media platforms. So I've noticed this before, like when somebody does a thumbs up or whatever, it doesn't just do one little lonely thumbs up on its own floating across the screen. Like, just very
just a singular finger.
Yeah, floating up to the top of the screen like it is in this moving graphic. They tend to put a whole load
flurry of fingers or thumbs,
yeah,
as it were.
Flurry of fingers. That's a bit of a weird thing to say out of context, isn't it? They kind of all float up and go across, and it just looks a bit more engaging and looks a little bit more cool. So it would have been quite nice if Google had done that a little bit rather than just literally what it seems to be in this moving graphic, which is the one single reaction. But hey, nice that they've put that in. I think that's a nice step forward. And the other one of being able to promote a viewer to meeting contributor, again, really, really nice.
Whilst in pip mode, so pip mode is picture-in-picture.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that they're absolutely right of you not having to leave that, come back in. It's, again, just one of those quality of life improvement updates where you're removing that friction point for the end users, which is always really, really nice to see. There's a cool moving graphic in here that Adam's very kindly added, which shows how this works and how it's a little bit easier to see. So I can see it is very nice to access and very, very easy there. So thank you for adding that in, Adam. I think these are two very nice updates. What's the getting started for these, please, Adam?
Okay, so for the admins, reactions will be on by default and can be turned off in the Google admin console. And anybody can visit the Google's Help Center if they would like to learn more about managing that particular feature. There's a link in the document. For the end users, though, so for the hosts end users, whilst you're using picture-in-picture mode, you can transition viewers to contributors from the people panel by selecting the three-dot overflow menu and then selecting make a contributor. For the viewers, if enabled by your admin or meeting hosts, you can then visit Google's Help Center to learn more about assigning view-only roles in Google Meet. And as always, there's a link in our document for that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. What's the rollout pace and availability, please?
So rapid release and scheduled release is available right now to everybody, which is great to see. And this is going to be available to Google Workspace Business Standard, Business Plus, Enterprise Essentials, Enterprise Standard, Enterprise Plus, Education Fundamentals, Education Standard, Teaching and Learning Upgrade, and Education Plus customers. So it's definitely a bit more of a higher tier feature.
Yeah, nice to see a lot of education stuff in there as well. We always like to see when that's been added in and thought about. So
I'm just trying to think very quickly. Obviously, we don't go off on tangents here. It is simply not what we do. But is there much difference between this viewer mode in Google Meet and streaming? So I've literally just put you on the spot. Is it basically the same thing?
I think it's... Well, I'm probably going to say that they're different because they sort of have different names and things like that. I think what they mean by viewer mode is when you're kind of viewing the presentation specifically or something like that. I think that's sort of what they're saying, maybe?
Because it does mention that you physically do not have the option to use your camera or audio, so you are literally a viewer, as if you're watching a stream. I wonder...
It's kind of like a live stream then, isn't it?
Exactly,
it's
that's pretty much what I'm saying, but I think... Off the top of my head, I think streaming may only be available to users within your organisation, whereas this you could, I'm assuming, invite people outside of your organisation to view the meeting as a viewer. So it'd be almost like a webinar type thing. Possibly.
Yeah. There must be there must be a difference between them. It's not some... Again, it's one of those features of Google Workspace that we just don't particularly use ourselves. But that is a good point, that there might be a bit of a difference between them. We'll have to maybe look into that to clarify what the difference is there. But this is definitely all for viewer mode, isn't it? It's like it's talking about, because it says here, doesn't it? Earlier this year, Google introduced viewer mode for meeting attendees. So I guess it's specifically talking about that. Maybe what it means is viewer mode is what they're talking about, is what the viewers see when they're in a live stream. Maybe that's kind of what they're...
Possibly. There's definitely a little bit of ambiguity there, because otherwise I wouldn't have questioned it. And it's because we were talking about streaming and some of the updates that we had. I think they changed how many people could view a live stream. But then I recall that was only 2 people within your organisation that what was affected by that. That's why it was in my mind, and that's kind of why I questioned it.
Yeah, no, you're quite right to ask that question, because some of our listeners may be asking the same thing, thinking, well, what's the difference between viewer mode? And we've definitely cleared that up, haven't we, Adam?
Of course we have, as we always do.
Apologies, listeners. Right, what's the next update that we've got, please, Adam?
Next up, we've got some more Google Meet for everybody. So you can now take Google Meet on the go with ease. So Google is introducing a new simplified mobile experience that will make taking calls on the go easier and less distracting. When you join Google Meet from your mobile device, Google will automatically detect whether you're in motion and prompt you to use on-the-go mode. Your meeting experience will be streamlined to surface the most important features to keep you focused and save you bandwidth. So that includes a simplified user interface with access to the most critical features, such as a mute and unmute, hand raise, and audio device selection. Only key information is displayed, such as the active speaker and the number of people on the call. Your video is automatically turned off, and you'll also have the option to view presented content. As people are increasingly on the go, it's becoming more common to join meetings while walking, in a car, or on public transportation. That's why Google is introducing the on-the-go meeting experience, which will make it easier for you to focus on the critical meeting details, cut down on external distractions, whilst saving bandwidth with an audio-only experience.
Really, really nice. Very, very, very cool update to see here. And again, just reducing that friction point of, like, if you're on the go, you don't have to remember to turn your camera off and to do all of those other things that you might be doing. So
from this, sorry, just very quickly touching base, because you mentioned the camera. It says that the camera is automatically turned off. I don't think there is any option to turn it on.
Oh.
It doesn't actually clarify that. It does say that the camera is automatically off, but I don't think, from what we can see with the graphic that I've included in our lovely document, I don't think there is actually the option to turn it on. So I think that is a feature that it is literally an audio-only experience.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, maybe they'll do a little update to that then, if that's the case, to allow you to turn your video back on. Because you might want to turn it back on at some point. I mean, you might just want to have it off while you're riding the bus and then turn it back on when you get to the office or something. So that's interesting. But like you say, we're not 100% sure on that. I think this is a very nice interface. I think they've got... So for anybody listening, it's very good because it will actually say, do you want to use on the go mode? It kind of auto detects it and says, do you want to use it? And then it will go into this mode. And it's a very, very nice presentation here where you've got mute, you've got hand raise, audio end.
And it does look very easy to switch between on the go mode and back again if you wish.
Yeah, and I was just thinking maybe that's an answer to your question, because I see exactly what you mean, where it's got the interface on the right-hand side here of the graphic, and it's in on-the-go mode. You're right, there's nothing to do with the camera there. However, there is that little X that says turn off on the go, so maybe if you turn it off, you then get your other controls back or something like that. Maybe that's sort of the way that it works. But really, really nice. I think this is a very good idea by Google, and very, very nice to see in Google Meet. So yeah, well done to Google to introducing this. Really, really lovely.
I do really like this update. I think it's great, and yeah, I'm sure this will be very welcomely received. I'm sure that's definitely a sentence.
It's in there somewhere.
Almost. But the one thing that I question about this is, say, how often it would actually be used for, say, like serious meetings, because especially if you have a job interview, or you have a meeting with a client or something, a professional based meeting, I'm not sure that I would just casually be walking down the street whilst I then join said meeting. I would make sure that I was in my place of work, in the office, somewhere suitable and static to attend such meetings. So I think maybe this is better for more casual or more relaxed meetings. I definitely like the option. I just can't imagine joining like a job interview whilst I'm on the bus or something like that.
No, I don't think it's for something like that. I think it's for, again, like larger organisations where people are in a lot of meetings throughout the day. Do you know what I mean? So it might be like the 5th or 6th meeting that are joining, and it's a meeting where they need to listen to the information but they don't need to participate. I think that's kind of what,
for those individuals that just have that one speed of 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah me. So I'll probably be using this feature. But thank you, Adam. What's the getting started here for admins and end users, please?
Okay, so for the admins, there is no admin control for this feature, but for the end users, this feature will be on by default and can be turned off by the user. And of course, you can visit Google's Help Center if you'd like to learn more about turning on the go on or off for your account.
Great, thank you, Adam. What's the rollout pace and availability, please?
Okay, so rapid release and scheduled release, there's a full rollout, so only 1 to 3 days for feature visibility, availability even, and that started on November the 1st. So by the time this podcast comes out and everybody is listening to this, then this update will probably already be available, and it will be available to all Google Workspace customers and users with a personal Google account.
Brilliant, thank you, Adam. That's really nice to hear. What have we got next, please?
Okay, so up next, this is our final Google Meet update of the week. So one-to-one video calling in the Google Meet mobile app is now available. So you can now make cloud encrypted one-on-one video calls to other users in your organization using the Meet mobile app. Previously, you had to create a meeting link ahead of time, which could then be shared in a calendar invite, chat, or email. Now you can place a Google Meet call on your mobile app directly to a colleague which will ring their mobile device. Within the call, you'll also have access to the latest Google Meet features, including in-meeting chat, virtual backgrounds and visual effects, live closed captions, and more, depending on your Workspace edition. So this is very, very similar to, say, if you're calling from like WhatsApp or something like that.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, like WhatsApp calling. This makes a lot of sense. Very interesting that they're encrypted as well. That are encrypted video calls. So if you're going to have that really saucy chat, then you know that your call is encrypted. So that's something. Yeah, I mean, again, this is a nice interface change where people can just go through and make a call where they don't have to necessarily engage in a full meet that's sort of arranged. It's just, again, it's just making it easier to do that, isn't it? Rather than scheduling something or going into your calendar or anything like that. It was kind of like what I showed to one of the head teachers on a termly meeting that I did recently, where I was showing them Google Chat and I said, there's just a button in here that you can click to do Google Meet. And you just click it and it just puts a Google Meet in. And that might seem quite straightforward, but it's very, very useful because if you think about how you'd have to do it otherwise, you'd have to go to Google Meet, you'd have to say I want to have a meeting, and you'd have to copy the URL and then put it in the chat.
Or open up a calendar, make it an entire event, email it out.
Yeah, and make it an event for like 1 minute's time.
Then get the other person to go access their emails.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas you can just go into chat and you can just say, here it is, and you've both got the link, and it's
which we've
there.
Both used personally many times before. It's a great feature.
Yeah, I use that all the time. It's really, really useful. So again, this is just being able to go straight through and make a call, which is really, really nice to see. The other nice thing as well is that when you're in the call, you then get a lot of those Google Meet features as well that you can still use. So that's really, really useful, including live captions, which is very, very cool. But obviously, as it says, they're dependent on your Google Workspace edition. The moving graphic here is very nice to see as well. It looks very much like you would expect in any kind of modern video calling environment. The buttons are really, really clear. Everything's very, very nice. Have you noticed that little icon that comes up as well, Adam, just as it goes into the call with a little shield?
Yes. So you know it's encrypted.
Yeah, it must be to do with the encryption, right?
Shield for protection.
Shield for protection and encryption. So yeah, very, very nice. Again, very, very nice update.
I wonder if this will actually be quite beneficial for businesses as well. So if it's the type of establishment that provides mobile devices to their employees, so they have a work phone, I'm pretty sure that's quite common practice, whereas if they did that, then you'd need to get a new SIM card with a new contract and do X, Y and Z in order to provide that mobile device, whereas with this, if it all sticks entirely within Google and you can now make calls through Google, then maybe you will not need to separately provide a SIM card with a contract and other things as well. You can just give someone a tablet or just an actual mobile phone, but without the SIM card, and as long as they have access to, let's say, like Wi-Fi or they can get online somehow, then they should still be able to use this feature.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, could be a possible use case for a business who wants to do that sort of thing. Thank you, Adam. What's the getting started here, please?
Okay, so for the admins, this will be on by default and can only be turned off by turning off meetings and calls for your organisation, which sounds a bit drastic because then to me that's saying it's either on for everyone or just turn Google Meet off full stop. But alternatively, you can deploy the Google Meet original app from the Google Play or the App Store to manage devices if you do not wish for users to have calling capabilities. So to me, again, I was a bit shocked when I see that because it almost sounds as if they've got their product, but they've not quite ironed out the functionality of it yet. So the only way to stop it working is either just turn Google Meet off for absolutely everybody, or to use a really old app, which they're probably planning on just doing away with anyway because it was replaced with a newer app. Anyway, but a note on that Google will introduce admin controls to restrict inbound calls next year, and will provide an update on the Google Workspace blog when more information is available. And of course, we get all of our information from the Workspace blog, so therefore stay tuned to this podcast, and we will keep everybody updated as soon as that information...
I was just going to say, Adam, we don't need to go to the Workspace blog. They just need to come here. They just need to listen to the podcast.
If you have legacy calling enabled for your users, they will have access to features previously found in Duo, which is group calls, messages, moments, family mode, etc. Not sure what Duo is, but hopefully that makes sense. And if they have not upgraded to the new Meet app just yet. But to get started for the end users, Meet calls do not include legacy calling features previously found in Duo, which are the group calls, messages, moments, family mode, and knock, whatever that is. To those continue to be available if you have not upgraded to the new Google Meet app and are using legacy calling. And of course, you can visit Google's Help Center if you would like to learn more about making Meet calls within Google Meet, and to learn more about using the new Google Meet app. And there are some lovely links in our lovely document for those.
Great, thank you, Adam. And what's the rollout pace and availability, please?
Okay, so for iOS users, rapid release and scheduled release, there is an extended rollout, so potentially longer than 15 days for feature visibility, which started on November the 2nd. For Android users, rapid release and scheduled release, there is also an extended rollout, which is starting on November the 14th, and this update is going to be available to all Google Workspace customers.
Great, that's good to hear. That's very, very nice. A little bit of a wait there until middle of November, but that is for the scheduled release, so I suppose that makes sense. Thank you very much, Adam. Well, that is it, everybody. That's everything you need to hear about all of the latest updates happening in the world of Google Workspace. Remember that this podcast is available in audio format from wherever you cast your pods, and also in video format on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Strawberry7. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
And we'll be back again next week with more updates.
Goodbye.
Bye.